Good evening and welcome to the fourth lecture of the India Yearbook 2016 series. Today we are going to cover chapter number 4, which is on communications and IT. So the first module, introduction. As you can see, the Ministry of Communications has three important departments. First is the Department of Post. Second is the Department of Telecommunication. And third is the Department of Information Technology. A brief history about the Postal Department of India. The posts were started by Lord Clive in 1766 and consolidated by the Governor General of India, Lord Hastings, by starting the General Post Office (GPO). Then in 1856, Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General of India, made a revolution by introducing a uniform rate of postage. So for any amount of distance, you just had to pay a uniform rate of post for communication, and this made post an accessible medium of communication for all Indians. The structure of Indian Post you can see here. The Postal Service Board is the apex controlling authority of Indian Post. It has 6 members and a chairman. The Deputy Secretary and Financial Advisor to the Department of Posts are the permanent invitees, and the Secretary of the Department of Posts is in charge of implementation of the decision. Next, an introduction about the Indian Post reach. Indian Post is the largest postal organization in the world. 90% of its branches are in rural areas. The post offices in hilly areas are subsidized by 85% from the center, and in normal rural areas they are subsidized by 67%. A single post office on an average covers an area of 21 square kilometers and 7,800 people approximately. So it serves around 8,000 people. To be noted here, important schemes mentioned in the India Yearbook. Project Arrow was launched to improve the look and feel and to improve the service quality of posts. Then another important point, the National Postal Week is celebrated on October 9th to October 15th, and the Philately Day is celebrated on October 13th. Philately is for those who love collection of stamps. Next is the Information Technology Department. According to the yearbook, for 52% of the world's outsourcing market is captured by India. And although it is export driven, but IT services, domestic software products and business process management are the main sectors with highest domestic demand in that order. Important schemes of the government mentioned in the yearbook: e-Bharat, improving availability of basic services to common man in his locality using the online mode. An important scheme next mentioned is Meghraj, which is Government of India's cloud computing environment that shall act as a repository for various applications and services. Important bodies under the Department of Information Technology. First is Software Technology Parks of India, STPI. It is an autonomous society under this department whose main objective is promotion of software exports of India. So, the second important body is Media Labs Asia. It was set up as a not-for-profit company under Department of IT to provide benefits of information and communication technology to the common man. Next is the Department of Telecommunications. India has the second largest telecom network in the world after China. Currently there are over 100 crore telephones with 2 crore landlines and 98 crore mobiles. The teledensity of India, which means the number of phones owned per population is 80%. So there are 80 phones amongst 100 people in India, and the tele-density in urban areas is 150%. That means among 100 people, 150 phones are seen. And in rural areas, it is 48%. So 48 people out of 100 own a phone in rural areas. Two-thirds of these phones are feature phones, that is the non-smartphones. And the remaining one-third are smartphones. Important bodies under the Department of Telecommunication: the Telecom Commission. The commission has a chairman, 4 full-time and 3 part-time members. The chairman is the secretary of the Department of Telecom. Important functions of this body are formulating the policy on telecom, implementing the government's decisions on the telecom sector, and preparing the budget of the Department of Telecommunication. Next is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, or TRAI. TRAI was established by an Act of Parliament in 1997, and the important functions of this organization are that it specifically lays down the tariff policy, it lays down the quality of service standards, it recommends rules of entry for service providers, and ensures compliance of the terms and conditions of the license by the service providers. So it is like a regulator of the telecom industry. Since it was created by an act of parliament, so it is a statutory body but not a constitutional body. To know more about statutory and constitutional, you may refer to the polity chapters of UPSCFEVER. The last point covered is Universal Service Obligation Fund. So it is a fund created by an act of parliament to provide subsidy support for those telecom services that are provided in rural areas. So since providing telecom services in rural areas incurs a large cost, the government uses the Universal Service Obligation Fund to subsidize that cost. Right, so we'll do a review of this chapter. Important points covered here are that Postal Service Board, which is the apex controlling authority, Project Arrow, which was launched by the Department of Post to improve the look and feel of service. Next, E-Bharat and Meghraj, which are the important schemes. Media Lab Asia, which is a not-for-profit company under Department of IT. And the Universal Service Obligation Fund, which is a fund created under the Act of Parliament to provide subsidy support for those service providers who provide services in rural areas. So for details of this chapter, you may go to our website under the India Yearbook section. You can see all the 17 important chapters. So we covered chapter number 4 and we will move ahead in the next video. So if you like this video, don't forget to follow or like and share this or subscribe to our feeds. Thank you. Best of luck.